A new Xbox console has been leaked, The Elder Scrolls 6 won't be coming to PlayStation, and the power of the Switch 2 has been revealed. I'm Ash Dixon and this is Jinx News. Overnight, a whole bunch of legal documents from the Microsoft FTC lawsuit were leaked, and perhaps the biggest news is the Xbox console planned for next year. Codenamed Brooklyn is a refreshed version of the Xbox Series X, with a new circular design along with a hefty 2TB of storage. The disk drive is also gone, and sadly, there's no bump in power, so this is by no means a pro console. In fact, other than improved power efficiency and more storage, there isn't much new going on internally, and that's reflected in the price, with it set to cost the same as the current Series X. It also comes with a new controller dubbed Sibyl that features precision haptic feedback with haptics that double as speakers. It's also packed with gyro support and modular thumbsticks. According to one slide, the console is currently set to drop in November 2024, but it's worth noting that the documents are dated back to April 2022, so take that with a pinch of salt. Otherwise, it's an interesting move from Microsoft. They seem to be focusing on a longer, closed ecosystem for this generation, with the hope that it will simplify the development process. But that's kind of negated when it looks like Sony is going the other way, with their 2024 console looking to be a pro version. Just purely on design, I don't know if I'm convinced. I can't help but feel like whoever's designing this thing is just watching their kid play with building blocks and going, "Ooh, that looks good." The slide describes it as a beautiful and innovative design, and I'm just like, bro, that's just a cylinder. I don't think anyone's ever looked at a cylinder and been like, "Oh, so beautiful. So innovative." I guess it's also less box-like now. Maybe it should just be called the X-Tin. Or maybe I'm just being way too harsh. I'm curious what you think on the new console. Let me know in the comments down below. If you like Elder Scrolls games, you might just have to settle for those beautiful and innovative Xbox designs. That's because according to the FTC court documents, the Elder Scrolls isn't coming to PlayStation. During the testimony at the hearing, Xbox's Phil Spencer said that as the game is at least 5 years out, it's technically to be determined which platforms it will be available on. But now we have a clear new table where the next Elder Scrolls game is nicely listed. And in the box labelled "Released on PlayStation?" there's a big fat cross. Now, that doesn't mean you'll be forced to play it on Xbox, it will also be coming to PC, but that's going to upset a whole load of PlayStation users. And to be honest, a lot of people called it back when the Bethesda acquisition went through in 2020. Yes, the Xbox has flopped during this generation's console wars, but Microsoft are clearly playing the long game here. And it has implications for the Activision Blizzard deal too. Yes, there's been some assurances like a 10-year agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles, but what then? In the grand scheme of things, 10 years isn't that long. It was over 10 years ago that GTA 5 and Skyrim came out. For a while, it looked like the industry was moving towards a more harmonious cross-gen era. Going forward though, it seems like it will be more fragmented than ever. Speaking of Bethesda games, it looks like Dishonored 3 and a new Doom are in the works. One of the leaks last night was an internal Microsoft document summing up its proposal to acquire ZeniMax. It lists numerous games and DLC planned up until the end of the 2024 financial year, and of course there's a whole load of games that we already know about or have been released. Starfield, Redfall, Ghostwire Tokyo, The Elder Scrolls 6 and the upcoming Indiana Jones game, but there's also several that have yet to be announced. These include a new Doom game titled Doom Year Zero, along with Dishonored 3 and a sequel to Ghostwire Tokyo. There's also remasters in the works for Oblivion and Fallout 3, as well as a few mystery titles simply called Project Kestrel and Project Platinum. And while that all sounds rather exciting, the whole thing does come with a rather big caveat. The document was created back in July 2020, and a lot can change in 3 years. And considering the document suggests Starfield would be released in the summer of 2021, it's clearly outdated. Either way, it's exciting news for Bethesda fans, though, as we've discussed, don't get too excited if you plan to play on PlayStation. Ever wondered how Mario would look on Xbox Series X? Me neither. But it turns out that Microsoft big boss man Phil Spencer was telling colleagues back in 2020 that he wanted to acquire Nintendo. It seems basically everyone is on the menu at this point for Microsoft, and in a recently published email chain about buying TikTok, the conversation shifted to Nintendo. It was between Microsoft's CCO Takeshi Numoto and Spencer, with Numoto asking why he wasn't looking at Nintendo instead. Spencer replied, "Takeshi, I totally agree that Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming. I've had numerous conversations with Nintendo about tighter collaboration. The unfortunate situation is that Nintendo is sitting on a big pile of cash, and they have a board of directors that until recently has not pushed for further increases in market growth or stock appreciation. Spencer concluded that it would be a career moment and would be a good move for both companies, but believed that it would take Nintendo a long time to realize this. Bear in mind that Nintendo apparently laughed their asses off when Microsoft originally proposed a buyout about 20 years ago, and it's pretty clear that this one's a non-starter. However, it does make you feel like Microsoft hunger won't be sated after they're done gobbling up Activision Blizzard. And speaking of Nintendo, it looks like the power of the Switch 2 has been revealed. Amongst the mountains of documents published last night, there were also some heavily redacted emails between Activision CEO Bobby Kotick and Nintendo CEO Shintaro Furukawa, many of which included the attachment ng-switchdraft.pdf, the ng likely meaning next gen. The text from the document reads, "Given the closer alignment to Gen 8 platforms in terms of performance and our previous offerings on PS4 and Xbox One, it is reasonable to assume we could make something compelling for the NG Switch as well." And hearing that, I imagine, will be a little disappointing for some of you. While there's been reports that Nintendo recently showed off the new Switch running Zelda in 4K, the hardware of the PS4 and Xbox One feels old at this point, and there's got to be questions on whether it has the longevity to last however many years it needs to. But what do you think? Should Nintendo make its next console more powerful, and would you be willing to pay more for it? Over to Mortal Kombat 1 now, and also the perfect example of the issues of weaker consoles. That's because the Switch version looks like it's struggling. Loads of bugs, loads of crappy graphics, and unsurprisingly, loads of disgruntled players. Now, to be fair, the teams behind the port have tried to make it a full experience. All the game modes, characters, dialogue, fatalities, and all the other gubbins are in there, but it looks like they've bitten off more than they can chew. Textures are low res, the game barely hits the advertised 60 FPS, and well, just take a look at this. That was courtesy of Mr. Bacon Soro, but he's not the only one who's taken to X to voice their frustrations. Multiple people have posted side-by-side comparisons with other consoles, and let's just say the prognosis isn't great. And look, I don't think anyone was expecting some visual marvel on Switch. That hardware is dated. But what's annoying players is that the game costs a cool $70, meaning Switch players are paying the same price as other consoles for a subpar experience. So it really should come as no surprise that NetherRealm are getting an earful. In the immortal words of Shao Kahn,
"It's official. You suck."
And that's it for today. A like and subscribe is always appreciated. Check out yesterday's news right here, and we'll see you tomorrow.